my personality. Like I'm really that friend that sends you memes at 3 a.m. Like I'm that girl.
Welcome to the Pixel Paper Podcast, a series where we get to know the creative processes behind up-and-coming digital artists. My name is Noor, graphic designer and work-in-progress artist, and I'll be your host for this series. For today's guest, we have a marketer turned artist with a background in textiles. This episode, Miriam from Malaysia spills her story of how she became an artist after a solid career in marketing for 10 years. This was quite a cool and unique episode in that Miriam has a very different route to the usual artist career, and she offers a lot of professional advice as well as advice from a more experienced point of view. So for young people who are starting out in their late teens or early 20s, I think this is a really good episode to listen to, and even if you're not, it's just a super interesting episode regardless to see how Miriam has come to where she is, especially if you are also a late artist, quote unquote, who may want to start or maybe you're hesitant to start. I think this is a good motivation. She talks about how she started her super popular meme page called Mirro Notes and how she uses her art to help her local community. So I hope you enjoyed this episode with Miriam Omar. Hi Miriam, how are you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. For the benefit of the audience, can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Miriam. I'm an artist and designer and small business owner from Malaysia. I studied marketing and retail management at Raffles Design Institute in KL and in Singapore. I also did a semester in London College of Fashion. Then I went on to study textiles at Chelsea College of Arts after working for about a decade in marketing, e-commerce, and brand management. But now I'm a full-time artist and business owner.
Yeah, your journey is like really cool, like from university till, now. And I think I only started following you recently, but I really wanted to interview you because you have this really unique style, really vibrant colors, and you're also the first Malaysian artist I'm interviewing. So, could you tell us a bit more about your art journey? Like delve a bit deeper into what you just introduced us to?
Well, okay, so actually I started in fashion design. So I did that for a couple of semesters until I realized that it required a lot of patience. So then I changed to doing marketing. So I kind of already had some sort of foundation in design,
Right.
but I didn't feel like that was the time for me to pursue that. And I think I was feeling very jealous of my fellow classmates who were doing marketing, and I was like, I think I would be better doing that, right, doing that course. So I did like a whole change and went into marketing and brand management and retail management. But then when I started working, I always worked in the creative industry. So my first job was like at a fashion startup called Zalora. I'm not sure if you are aware of that, but I don't know if you know Zalora, but it's like one of the biggest like fashion e-commerce websites here in Asia. So when they started out, it was like a startup. So I was one of the first few people who joined. So yeah, I've always been doing things that were like kind of in the middle between being a creative and in management. So then I went on to do jewelry. I managed a jewelry brand, and then I managed an arts festival. And during that arts festival, I managed a lot of artists actually, all sorts of artists, like visual artists, even musicians. And I also did fundraising. So I was always in the creative industry. And then the last job I had, that was the one that really like pushed me into doing art full time, which was I worked for a furniture and textiles company. And I kind of really fell in love with textiles at that time. And a lot of the brands that we carried were designed by people who went to Chelsea College of Arts.
Okay.
And I guess at that time I was like, wow, I really love all these designs. I checked out the school, and then I was feeling very demotivated at work because I guess I was already doing art on the side. When I was
Mm.
in the when I was working for the arts festival, it was kind of like a stressful job. So I
Right.
started taking up design. Not design, sorry. Like I was taking up painting and drawing, but for
Mm.
fun. Like just line art. That's how I
Right.
started. Like all these black and white, and this was
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago. Black and white line art on the iPad. That's how I started. And then I posted some of these drawings on Facebook actually. And people started liking them and then
Mm-hmm.
commissioning me to do artwork. So I had a full-time job, and I was like, oh, okay, this is an avenue I can explore. So I just, started drawing on the side while
Mm-hmm.
juggling my full-time job. And then I guess it kind of like evolved to me not really enjoying my full-time job anymore
Mm-hmm.
and thinking of ways of how to quit. So yeah, so when I was at that textiles company, that's when I was like, okay, you know what, I've always wanted to study illustration and textiles, but they
Right.
didn't offer that at the time. And so that's how I made the jump to like quit my job and go and study arts and study textiles specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it evolved to like firstly line art and then portraits and then abstract and then to what it is now. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like amazing. You have such a varied and diverse journey, and obviously, you've done a lot of stuff in between there. So, in between
Yeah.
making your own work, and also you lectured as well, or still
Yeah.
lecture?
So the lecturing, because for me it's like I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go.
Mm.
So if I didn't but I didn't want to stay idle either. So my plan was I'm gonna try everything and then I'll deduct. So
Okay.
that's why I did everything. So that's why I went into fashion
Ah,
design. I
okay.
did fashion startups and all that. Then just to decide if this is where I want to go, and also
Right.
just to get skills on the way.
Right.
Because at least if I don't know if this is not what I want to do, at least I'm gonna get something out of it when I do know what I want to do.
Mm.
So it
Yeah, I
actually
think,
took
yeah.
me like a long time to really know that this is what I want to do. It took like
Mm.
more than 10 years,
Mm.
probably.
Mm. I think that's a really interesting point you've made because I feel like a lot of people would be very scared to do that. So what would you say to people who, maybe they're being pressured into staying in a full-time job for the stability and everything. So what would you say to them, you know?
So how I did it myself was like I was already feeling very depressed, but I
Mm.
told myself, well, this is a big jump, and you have built this 10-year career in this line,
Mm.
and so there's a lot of risk involved. Especially when I was already comfortable getting income and all that, So
Yeah.
it's like really scary to just like
Yeah.
give up all that. But I told myself, if in 1 year I
Mm.
am still depressed and I'm still
Mm.
thinking about not being in the office anymore, I will do something about it for real.
Okay.
But then in that 1 year, I would prepare myself mentally and also
Mm.
prepare my portfolio, prepare scholarships,
Mm.
application, everything to make it happen,
Right.
basically, even financial budgeting.
Mm.
And then after that 1 year, I will decide properly, like,
Right.
okay, I'm going to do it or not. So I didn't just decide on a whim. I really took
Mm.
time and effort into preparing like a life after I've done that, because I just
Mm.
wanted to minimize the risk. So I think I would advise other people not to just jump into it, like
Mm.
really plan it out. Like I had like plan A, plan B, plan C, and I
Mm.
saved up money, and I decided also that if I was going to do it, I was going to do it the right way. That's why I was going to go back to art school, go back into
Mm.
school, and I wanted to get into a very good school. So I just wanted to make sure that the struggling period of my life would
Mm.
be at like a minimum, because especially if you've already had a stable job and then
Yeah.
you go back to being a student,
Yeah.
that's a bit difficult. Yeah, so I was kind of like used to like having whatever I wanted at that point, and then like,
Mm-hmm.
I already knew, oh, I'm gonna suffer a lot because I wouldn't have money. I would have to spend everything on like school supplies. So yeah, taking some time to really plan it out and
Mm-hmm.
mentally prepare yourself is something that I would really suggest people do.
Mm. Yeah, that I think that's a good piece of advice because I feel like half of the internet's just saying quit your 9 to 5 and go do what
Yeah.
you want. But no, that's very, very good advice. And I wanted to ask you as well, how was your experience in art school? Did you study in London?
Yes,
Yeah.
I studied 2 times in London, London College of Fashion, and then Chelsea College of Arts.
Okay.
I really, really, really enjoyed it. Like, but when I was studying in Chelsea College of Arts, I only did 1 year. I didn't go into my second and third year for specialism, mainly because I felt like at the time I was already 29, and I was kind of itching to go back to work. So I just wanted like that experience to like jumpstart my creative side, or like I wanted to learn how to basically be creative. I wanted to learn how to actually materialize my vision like in a proper way with research methods through going to school. But when I went into when the second year is our specialism, which we go deeper into that, I decided, okay, I will just do my specialism by starting a business and just doing it for real. So, but the 1 year I was in art school, that was, well, because I came in with like, okay, I had so many goals in mind. Like, okay, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to like how do I manage a creative block? How do I, create a concept and then tell a story through images? I had all these like, so I came in with an objective. And when
Right.
I asked like my lecturers so many questions, because I knew that I was gonna quit this. I mean, I was gonna finish school, and then I was really gonna start something, but I didn't at the time. I didn't know it was like what business, what yet. I didn't know yet what it was, so I just made sure that I kind of juiced everything that I could in that 1 year. So
Yeah, no, I think that's the really good thing about going back to school or university when you've had life experience, because you kind of know
that
what
is
you want
so
to
true.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as opposed to just
I mean,
like, yeah.
me in school back 10 years ago, when I was in like London College of Fashion, I was in Raffles. I wasn't really I didn't really have a goal. I was just gonna finish
Yeah,
my assignments. But
yeah,
this time around, it's like I felt how I know how it's like in the working world. So, and especially being a brand manager.
yeah,
So like, you need to create the storytelling. You need to create the visual images
yeah.
for the brand or whatever that it is you're gonna do. So I kind of already knew that that's the end result I wanted, but I just didn't know how do creatives do it and how do artists do it, like in a systematic method. So that's what I kind of set out to learn while in art school.
Okay, right. So let's say finish your you finish your masters in Chelsea College of Arts, or you don't finish, and you go back to Malaysia. So how is that? Trying to set up being an artist.
Wow. So I was so worried that I would get like I wouldn't meet my goals. Like I had like a target that by this time I'm already gonna set up whatever it is. I'm gonna figure out what I want to do. But at the time, to be honest, I had no clue what I was gonna do. I was just like I had all this knowledge, but I was still like kind of lost.
Which year was
So
this, by the way?
sorry.
Which year was this?
This was 2017, 2018.
Okay, okay.
So I came back, and then I found out about this youth entrepreneurship program under the National Art Gallery here in Malaysia. And so what they do is they incubate like young entrepreneur artists, creatives. They help them get started in their business or mentorship and all that. So I joined the program in hopes that by the end of this program, I would already figure out what I want to do and just launch something, which I did. So I kind of just, because, I was under a program, so I kind of forced myself to just like figure it out. So during the program, I just came up with whatever, okay, you know what, I'll just do textiles. That's what I studied, and that's the company I'm going to go for. But I didn't know like what kind of design I was going to do, what kind of brand it's going to be. Is it going to be, like what? I had no idea, but I just launched something by end of 2018. And then I took a step back and kind of like explored again. So I launched it, and then I put it on hold for a while. And then I just started taking projects from other people to kind of like explore, because, you need time to explore and explore your art and work on it and practice. And I never had that time in school or when I was working. So I really took that opportunity to be like, okay, the brand is up, there's a website, I'm starting to sell, but who am I as an artist? And what do I want to say? And what's my message? So what kind of style do I want to do? Like, I didn't even know any of that. So I just like, okay, you're there already, you put it up. So now just take your time and explore and just go for it. So I guess that's what I did.
Yeah, I think that's good actually. It's good advice because, I mean, people may plan and plan and plan, but you may not actually do the thing. But if you just kind of start before you're ready, then you start learning along the way.
Yeah, it goes with my deduction method again. Like, you don't know what you want to do, just do everything and then deduct.
I think it's a good
method.
And
it's worked for me. I've learned so much along the way by doing that.
Yeah. No, I think it's a process of elimination. It's a very good method.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you started your art journey, I mean, I read in one of your blog posts that you had imposter syndrome. So how did you get over that, and what advice can you give for people who feel like they have this?
Right. So this imposter syndrome actually started when I won a scholarship. So I never felt imposter syndrome before that, but that scholarship, it was like I had like these duties as part of the scholarship where I had to go around Europe and do speaking engagements at like education conferences and all that, and then meet the Queen of Netherlands.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it was a big deal, and because there was like 100,000 applicants and they chose 6 people. So I was one of the 6. So you had like a lot of people were like, wow, you were so great at this, you're so good at that, and all that. And I was like, oh my God, am I? And I was like, I was kind of freaking out because everyone was like saying all these good things about me. And I was like, I don't think I am like that. I don't believe that I am who they think I am. So yeah, so that's how it started. And I had this, I guess people had expectations on me. That I was gonna do like all these really cool things, and then that got into my head like, oh my God, I'm gonna disappoint so many people, and what if they realize I'm a fraud? I'm not that great. I mean, I'm okay, but I'm not that great. I mean, that's what was going on in my head. But I was like, okay, I really gotta like deal with this because it was really affecting my work. Like I was kind of scared to even post on Instagram my work. It was at that point. But I guess how I got over it is like a combination of time and putting myself out there and just dealing with that discomfort. Because I was always thinking, why me? Why me? Right. And whenever something good happens to me, I keep thinking it's just a fluke or luck. So I told myself, okay, I'm gonna stop thinking why me and start thinking why not me. And if I am not qualified, then what can I do to appease myself? And what flaws or weaknesses do I have that I can address so that I can believe, of course, me? So yeah, I did a lot of reflection during this time, and then I set some small goals in terms of like, okay, if I don't think I'm that great, so let's do something. Let's set some goals in this area and see if you can reach those targets, just to like prove to myself, because it's not other people, it's just me and my own mind, right, basically. And so how do you get your mind to believe that, oh, okay, this person can do it? So that I did that to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I was just about to say one more thing. It's like also I shifted my mentality from thinking so much about me to thinking about sharing my passions.
Yeah.
So when you share your passion to other people, it doesn't matter if it's nice or not nice, or it's good or not good. It's just, you're just sharing your enthusiasm about your exploration, right?
Yeah.
So, because I was too obsessed, or maybe I guess too fixated about like, oh my God, what other people think about me, and I'm not good enough and all that. It's always about external, right? So I just started to thinking like, okay, it's not about other people. You enjoy this, so do it, So I guess that's how it started.
Yeah. Actually, what you just said about, sharing your passion, that's pretty much why I started this podcast, and I kind of cast away any doubts I had about myself, because it's not about me. It's about the artist, it's about the community that this will potentially build. So I definitely understand what you're saying.
yeah, and it makes it feel like, because you're scared to make usually I'm scared to make mistakes. Nobody cares that I make mistakes actually, but I care that I make mistakes. But like, if you're just sharing your passions, it's not about right or wrong or having mistakes. So that's why it helped a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And you're always your own biggest competitor, you know, you're not competing with other people. And we should stop thinking
Exactly.
like that.
That's why I did the whole goal setting thing. I was like, okay, if I feel so bad, like I'm not a good artist. Like I feel like a bad artist, why don't I just put the challenge to myself and just do this? And then by the end of it, then you give some criticism to your own work and then decide then, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And because you're Malaysian and you're Muslim, what kind of response have you gotten? Have you had any hurdles that you've had to overcome?
I think because I'm in Malaysia and it is a Muslim majority country, I don't really face any issues here as an artist. But I guess in London, when I was in school, yeah, I had to kind of deal with not so much as being Muslim, but maybe being Asian. Like there was kind of a divide in art school that I could see, like Asian art students will hang out with other Asian art students, and there's just no. I just kind of felt like there was like no mixing, and it was also because of it was cultural as well. Um, but because I kind of grew up everywhere, not grew up everywhere, but I kind of had like a lot of Western influence up in my upbringing, so I kind of felt like I was in the middle.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think like big hurdles, just the normal. I guess I did face a lot of like subtle racism in school. Yeah, that one I was kind of like upset about that, but other than that, I think when I came back to Malaysia, I felt like I was more accepted, basically.
And is Malaysia generally accepting of the creative community?
Slowly and surely, it's getting there. I think after Instagram took off in like the whole world, people
Right.
started to appreciate art, and also because I was working for an arts festival. It's actually one of the biggest arts festival here in Malaysia, and one of its one of our main purpose is to just like kind of drive the creative community to where it is now. So having those kind of events as well helped artists leverage, because we would like invite artists from all over, and they would have their installations and arts festivals. So basically, yeah, only in these few years, and especially after Instagram, and also when establishments like retails, hotels, cafes started to realize that if you don't put art in your establishment, if you don't appreciate it, especially in this Instagram era, you're going to lose out. So I think I started out at a good time, because everyone was like, oh, we need artists to do this for our building or that, or we need to like do an artist series in our product line and all that. So I guess I started becoming an artist at a time where they realized like how important it was. Yeah.
Right. And I guess speaking about social media, what role does it play in your practice and how has it helped you?
Well, previously, before I was an artist, I was doing a lot of digital marketing. So, and I was managing a lot of social media for other brands. So it was like, to me, kind of like work. Like I've done this, so I'm just going to transfer my knowledge in what I've known before to what I do now. However, I realized that marketing other brands is way much easier than marketing myself, because I just didn't know, like, oh, I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to, like, and it's so funny because when I was managing all those social media channels, I wasn't active on my own social media. Yeah, I wasn't even posting. So when I had to start posting on my social media and talk about my art, I realized how difficult it is and how much I struggled with self-doubt in just posting a picture. But I realized that a lot of my projects came from Instagram. Actually, most of it came from Instagram, and a lot of people who buy my artwork came from Instagram. Actually, mostly like 90% at least. So that's when I realized, oh, if I don't put effort into my social media, I'm not gonna get my name out there. I'm not going to get visibility, nor am I going to get paid. So I had like no choice. So I was like, okay, you better like get over this self-doubt that you have and just post. Yeah. But it's been really good though. Like just by posting something, I would get projects from that. So it doesn't really require me to hire anybody or, you're doing your own marketing without a marketing team. So
Exactly.
that's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really democratized the marketing aspect, I suppose.
Yeah. But I feel like, like there needs to be a kind, like for myself, like I only do Instagram, but I know I need to probably be on TikTok.
Yeah. TikTok. I mean, it's difficult, honestly. I'm trying with TikTok, but it's so hard.
Yeah, I mean, I like going through TikTok, but I guess I don't know. I am a millennial, so I'm a bit like I don't really understand Gen Z stuff, but I have to learn, and it is something that because I realize like a lot of artists are starting to migrate to TikTok, and they're getting support there. So I guess as an artist or business owner, you gotta adapt to the new social media landscape.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, reels are also coming out as well. So
yes, and Instagram is trying to compete with TikTok right now. So whether or not I'm not even sure like how this photo thing is gonna be because they don't, how Instagram is not showing photos anymore as much as they're pushing reels. I don't know something about the algorithm. So I myself have to kind of really think about changing the way I work now from taking a lot of pictures to also taking a lot of videos and also learning how to edit videos. And also trying to find people to hire to edit my videos if I don't want to do it myself.
No, it's always, you always have to keep on top of things, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You also started a new page on Instagram called Mirro Notes, which I guess is kind of like your lockdown project, I would say. Yeah, so I mean, it's mainly in Malay, right? But I mean, I feel like it's still really relatable to a lot of people. So can you just tell us a bit more about that?
So when the lockdown started last year, I had like a lot of trouble focusing on my painting because a lot of my paintings take like 8 hours per day to like just get somewhere. So I wasn't able to, I was so restless. This was like the beginning of the pandemic. So we didn't really understand what was going on. I was just having a lot of anxiety. So I was like, okay, I need to do something else to express, but it doesn't really take 8 hours, So I started this Mirro Notes kind of project a while back, few years back, before I started before I went to school for the second time. And it already had a following, but I did it for fun. And I was just really snapping pictures of my journal and like small rants and scribbles that I would like social commentary about my life or about life in general, or Malaysian society. And it already had a following, but at the time I was just like, whatever, I have a full-time job, I'm doing my art, I'm not gonna concentrate on this. And then I totally forgot about it. But when the pandemic started, I was like, okay, maybe I should restart this because writing seems to be more helpful and for my own anxiety at the time. And I just started posting random things, and I actually started a completely new account. And I don't know how, but some of the posts went viral, and especially the Malay posts, and which I didn't even think people would read because it wasn't something that I wasn't even trying to do anything with it. I was just bored, And then it has become what it is now. And then I realized how great it is as an outlet for me to kind of express my personality. Because I mean, even though I'm painting all these beautiful sceneries and nature and all that, but like my personality, like I'm really that friend that sends you memes at 3 a.m. Like I'm that girl. So it never had like a space. It never had an outlet So then when I saw that, Mirror Notes was kind of taking off, I was like, oh, okay, this can be the extension of my personality, and I can keep my serious art account to be just about the art and just about the brand. Because I don't know if the two can mix.
Yeah.
One is really like, silly. If you understand Malay, I'm just jabbing. I'm just being sarcastic, I'm making really dumb jokes and really dumb poetry. So where does that fit in my serious art? So I'm kind of glad it has its own space. And now it has more followers than my actual art account.
Yeah, I think people just relate more to things which seem more like less polished and kind of more,
Exactly. And because I've been a brand manager for so long, and I'm so used to that same brand storytelling, where everyone is neutral and everyone, because you're focusing on the brand, you're focusing on the product. You don't need a personality so much, in your storytelling. But I felt like a part of me was kind of like missing, because I used to blog a lot, and I did have some following during my blog time days, which was like 10 years ago. So I felt like, okay, this is where I can just like kind of be myself and go crazy and all that. And surprisingly, a lot of the people from Mirro Notes have supported my art. So it kind of like indirectly, is making income for me.
Yeah. That's
Which
great.
I didn't expect that. So like a lot of people like learn about my art through Mirror Notes now. So
Great.
yeah. So
Amazing.
to me, it's like, okay, anything goes.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of your art, I wanted to touch more on that and like touch more on your inspiration. So where do you specifically get inspired from, and what's kind of drawn you to the style that you have now?
So I'm very much inspired by the books I read growing up, especially my like Enid Blyton books. I used to really like imagine I was in those books, and I had this like in my mind, I have this like really vivid imagination of how this meadow is gonna look like, of how this picnic is gonna look like. And it's always been like that in my mind.
Wow.
And I've I always go there in my mind whenever I'm feeling sad or down or stressed. And then when I started picking up art, I wanted to translate what I had there in my mind onto paper. And then I guess a lot of this the things that I paint are just like memories of the things that happened in the past, but how I'd like to remember them, and also feelings that I want to feel. So it's a very like I'm very like emotional when I paint. I usually think about like, okay, how do I want to feel when I paint this? How do I want other people to feel when they look at this? Yeah, so a lot of it is just kind of like dreamlike. I like being in my dreams. I like kind of like painting dreams basically. Some of the paintings or my artwork that you see are have actual like the image. I use real life pictures of me and my friends. Yeah, so there's like one of the girls in the river and all that. That was actually me and my friends at the river, and I took a picture and then I painted that. But of course, I made it the way I wanted it to look like in my head, basically. Yeah, and the style, I guess I'm still exploring until now. So I'm just doing a lot of experiments and seeing which works, which doesn't. And so a lot of things that you're seeing in my artwork is really just explorations. I don't think I've settled into a style yet. But in terms of color study, because you could see like there is similar patterns in how I use color. I was actually a black and white artist. I only did line art in black and white. And the reason for that was because I was scared of color. I didn't know how to use color. So I took 2-3 years to really learn color, meaning like every day mix new colors and understand how color harmony works and understand the color wheel for a few years to get to where I'm at now.
Right.
But now it's still an exploration of color, but now I kind of know, like, all right, what works, what doesn't. And yeah, I also teach color theory now. So
Amazing.
yeah. And to think I started by doing black and white.
So for all of the people who are struggling with color, you have hope.
Yeah, I mean, it does take time because you need to train your eye to really kind of understand what, how to even mix colors or what colors work well, especially if you don't know the technique behind it and how color theory actually works, right? I didn't before when I started out, so that was like a journey of learning. Yeah,
amazing. And what do you want to showcase? Like, what's the message you want to give through your art?
I paint to feel happy. So when other people look at my art, I want them to feel happy as well. And I guess that's working because a lot of people always tell me, like, oh, I really feel happy when I look at your art. I always smile. And I guess like I reached my goal, just to kind of get people to escape when they look at the art. I kind of want it to be whimsical and fairy tale like, and kind of shift people's moods from if they're feeling down or something on that day, and then they look at the art and then they feel happier, because at least that's how I feel about the art. So if other people can feel that, then I did my job.
Right. Yeah. Cool. And with your art, you do not just paintings, but you do clothes printing, you do murals. So can you tell us how these processes, the creative processes, differ from small to large scale and what you have to consider?
Yeah. I actually started off, like I told you, fashion design, right? So I'm already very familiar with creating clothes and creating prints for clothes. So that's totally different than painting, because you have to consider scale and you have to consider the material that you're going to print on and how it flows on someone, on a silhouette, on a garment, and how it makes a person look like when they're wearing your print. That's very different than making artwork, because that hangs on the wall. So there's two things you need to consider there. So the kind of like method of how I go about that is different. But at the same time, I realize now that people kind of want to wear art. So I don't so much think about, oh, would this look nice on a fabric? No, I'll just think, would this look nice in general, even as a painting? Yeah. As for murals, when I started out, when I came back from Malaysia from studying and I needed a job, I was just kind of working for my other artist friends who were doing murals. And that's how I learned how to do murals. But at the same time, I already had a page where I was painting and all that. So soon people started, like brands and companies started approaching me about doing murals. And it's kind of like painting, but then now I have to consider doing grids on the wall to make sure that the proportions are right. And also I have to consider the construction and the production part, which is like, hiring the scaffolding team, the risk involved. And, if you can paint for 9 hours straight, standing up, finishing like the wall, because it's totally different than painting in your studio, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And there's and the risk involved as well, like because some of my paintings, my murals could be like 3 or 4 stories high. And so it's not really about painting anymore at that point. It's really about how you're going to manage a construction or production team. Yeah, because I do have like my scaffolding engineers to like make sure that everything is safe, and I have to work with a lot of developers as well, because these usually mural projects come straight from, especially the big ones, come straight from like developers or big brands who want to take out like the whole building to paint. But nowadays, as I said, the deduction method, I realized that I love painting murals, but up to a certain size. Because when it's more than 2 stories high, when it's more than 1 story high, there's so much more to consider in terms of your the time spent doing it, because it's not really about painting anymore, it's physical labor.
Right.
And the risk, especially the risk, because your entire team, like if I hire 20 people and 20 people are on the scaffolding, and if they fall or anything that happens, that's my responsibility. And that's not something that I have to think about if I'm doing textiles or I'm painting in my studio.
Right.
Yeah, so I feel like mural artists have a lot more to think about. They are basically a construction and build company, because there's like that aspect is a lot more than the drawing and painting, because you can train people to paint. You draw it, you as the artist draw it, and then you get people to just fill it in, unless you have like shading and all that. That would be, I mean, you can still train your people to do that. But I guess when I started doing bigger and bigger murals, I started to realize that it took away from the creative part. It took away from the painting part. So it was like 90% managing, project managing basically. And I realized that I'm not sure if this is the kind of like route I want to take. So I have started to like kind of pull back in doing murals and just concentrate on what I really want to do, which is like my painting and textiles and all that. So yeah, so that's it. Some people do call me a mural artist, but I don't think that that's a path that I want to go down. I think the mural artists really need like a team, and they do that, you know, as like they mainly focus on that. Then it would be, I guess, not so like, for me it's like all over the place, because I'm doing murals and at the same time doing printing, and then I have to manage my shop. And some of these mural projects are not in my city, so I have to take off and have to paint for like a month maybe,
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's so much difference in those two things. I'm starting to realize now that I probably cannot commit to all those projects anymore if I want to continue with my business, like my shop. And I still have to manage my customer inquiries and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I mean, it's really, I guess at this point of my journey, it's like really deciding where is your focus. And my focus is now in painting and in textile design. Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't mind doing smaller murals that, like, in small hotels or like in cafes, because it's basically like a big canvas.
Yeah.
Anything that requires scaffolding or a team, yeah, I'm gonna pull back from that.
Yeah, fair enough. And your artwork as well. I've read on Project Mirror, your website, you give back to the community a lot. So, I mean, can you tell us about how you're using your art to help the people of your community?
So when I first started Project Mirror, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with it, but I was very keen on like making it community driven as well. So the first I did like a book drive. So some of the proceeds from when I first started out went into gathering and disseminating books to the needy, which I've done. I kind of that was like last year, and no, sorry, that was like 2019.
Yeah.
And then 2020 COVID hit. So I right now I haven't really been able to do any like community work as to like how I did it before. But every month I do donate to COVID relief efforts. And even right now, I'm part of a charity drive with this, I'm not sure, I guess they're like an organization, they're called Rio. So they're doing like a charity drive with a lot of artists and creatives in Malaysia. So I'm doing that. But for me to do my own initiative right now is a bit difficult due to like the amount of different projects that I have. So instead of doing it myself, I just hop on with other companies that do it. Like, for example, what I'm doing right now. Yeah, because I feel like I need to be, it's at one point when I was starting out, I was like, I wanted to do everything. And then now I'm starting to realize, like, okay, you gotta have to find different ways to do what you want, but like not have to do it, you know? Same with
Right.
like me running like my fabric. Like I wanted to do my own fabric and do my own products in the beginning, which I did, but I realized, oh no, I don't have that I don't have the time and resources or energy to do that. So now what I do is I collaborate a lot with other brands, and then they will do the production side, whereas I would draw and paint. So that's exactly how I do with my the charity side as well.
Yeah. Work
Yeah.
smarter, not harder.
Yeah. You're still helping, but you're not the one going around.
Exactly.
Because at that point, I was the one going around doing the book drive and all, on top of the work that I had. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Do you think in
Mhm.
the future you'll start to narrow down the scope of projects you're doing? Is that what you want to do, or do you want to just keep doing lots and lots of projects?
Oh, definitely. That's what I want to do, which is why the mural thing, I know after a while I decided, well, okay, I don't have that team, I don't have the resources, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I quite enjoy it because it's more of the building side. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I think right now, after I think I launched the business in late 2018, I've already kind of done a lot of things and realize which one works for me and my schedule and the life that I want to kind of build. Because I mean, when I decided that I wanted to be self-employed, I also decided that I didn't want to work like how a 9 to 5 works. You
Right.
know, I wanted to have a lot of free time. I wanted to have like a manageable work-life balance. You know, so I don't want to take on too many projects that I don't get to be happy anymore, or I'm too overwhelmed that I don't have a work-life balance, because then it defeats the purpose of me wanting to be self-employed. Yeah, so it's just kind of like figuring out which projects fulfill me and which projects really align with my goals. And I didn't do that before, but I think it takes time for everyone to like realize, oh, actually I really don't like doing this. Like I used to do
Yeah.
logos and wedding cards. So now I don't do those anymore because I just don't think that that's where I want to focus on. So
Yeah.
I'm starting to say no to a lot of projects that don't go with what I actually want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when you're young, like when you're in your young kind of 20s, you kind of just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
But then as you get older, you start to realize, okay, you start to know what you want and you're able to say no easier.
Yeah. And like, for example, I had a really big project that was really like a big mural project, which is actually kind of a big deal. And a lot of people, it's like big with a big brand, it's at a hotspot place, and it's actually going to be really good for my I mean, it's going to be good for my portfolio. But at the same time, I was thinking, if I do this project, then I would get more projects like this. More brands are going to tell me, oh, can you do my building and all that? And then
Yeah.
is that really what I want to do? And then if I do that, then I can't focus on the store or focus on
Right.
creating, because I really want to get back into creating textiles. So I'm going to draw and paint, but then for to print them on textiles. So where am I going to find the time? So I guess kind of like focusing on what you want to do is something that you have to do later on.
Yeah. Just think long term. What do you want long term? And what do
Exactly.
you want in your portfolio as well? That's a good tip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What you put on your portfolio, you're going to attract more of that. So is that what you want to
True.
attract? That's something I
True.
had to like. Yeah, but I think saying no is something, is part of the journey as well.
You have to
Yeah,
say a lot of yeses before you say no, I feel like.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deduction method all over again.
It's just coming back full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've spoken about a lot of different topics, so I kind of want to wrap it up with some advice. And I wanted to ask you because I know that I read through pretty much all your blog posts, which are really great, by the
Okay,
way.
thank you.
So you mentioned in one of your blog posts that you were kind of told not to do art in high school. So what advice would you give to yourself back then?
I think it would have just I think I would have told myself to just do it anyway. Because I actually listened, I was like, oh, okay, this is not a good course to take, or this is not something I should focus on. I did it, but I was doing it and feeling guilty. So I would probably tell myself, don't feel guilty, just do it. And if you can't do it as like a job, at least do it as a hobby and practice. I kind of gave up for a while in high school. Yeah. So that's something that I mean, if I had practiced since then to now, I would have, had more experience if society didn't tell me not to do it. So I listened to society.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give yourself once you quit your full-time job to study in the UK?
To relax, because I was really worried that I was doing the wrong thing, and I felt like I was very anxious that I think because if you've already worked for a long time and then you went back to school to study something completely different, you will feel like a fish out of water. And you would feel like, especially if you already know your thing already, you've been working, doing something for 10 years, and then now you're a noob. So I would tell myself to not be so anxious and enjoy the process of learning something new instead of, I think I rushed into it. I was like rushing into like, okay, I already know this. I'm going to do this. I was just kind of like, what's next? Because I was like driven by anxiety to start working instead of like enjoying the process of learning. Yeah. I would ask myself to relax.
Right. And one question I have as well, the final question is, what would you like to say to yourself in the future? Or where would you like to see yourself moving forward?
Where would I like to see myself?
Yeah.
I guess I want to travel and do art at the same time. I'm not sure how, but I feel like I need to figure out a way on how to create art that I can do on the go. And I guess that's what I want to do. I kind of want to live in different countries and, create art, maybe 3 months, 6 months, and then go to another country and create art there. So yeah, I mean, not for a long time, just for a while, like a few years before I come back to Malaysia. So that's one goal I want to have. And also, I think I would like to hire a team as well. Like I would want to see myself with a practice with people, like assistants around me at this point, because I feel like if I want to scale, especially with the business, I need to have like a proper team, proper studio space and office and all that, which I didn't want before. But now I'm realizing like I cannot pack 100 packages anymore myself. So yeah, I guess like I want to be like this, like a creative business owner that does more of the creating side and not the administrative side anymore. Yeah.
Well, I hope you're able to achieve that in the future.
Yes, thank you.
And is there any final words you'd like to say?
I think especially with new artists or people who are not sure about where they want to go, I really do think that it's worth to try different fields of art as well, because I think when I did fashion design, I didn't realize what I really liked was illustrating. It is part of fashion design because fashion illustration is part of fashion design. I just wasn't aware that was what I wanted to do. So I guess what I didn't do was practice doing everything else and doing more research into like which area am I really interested in. So I think it's worth a try to just try everything, especially if you're already in that field. Yeah, like even in marketing, you try e-commerce management, try brand management, try marketing, traditional marketing, and then you'll see where. For me, I did everything for a while. So yeah. I think it's good to diversify skills. I think that is like the thing that helped me the most.
Exactly. And you never know where you'll end up.
Exactly. And even something that you learn, you will use it later on. You just won't realize how.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you so much, Miriam. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with Miriam. We certainly covered a lot of ground, and I'd love to hear what you think. You can Insta DM me or tweet me at pixelpaperpod. Your support is extremely valuable and gives me the motivation to keep making these podcasts, because I know that I'm not just speaking to myself when I'm recording these things. Anyways, don't forget that you can also subscribe by email on Substack. The link will be in this podcast episode description or in the podcast description itself, so please check it out, and I'll see you next week for another episode on the Pixel Paper Podcast.